All right, today we are jumping into a book that basically flips conventional psychology on its head. It's called The Courage to be Disliked, and it's all about the ideas of a psychologist named Alfred Adler. This stuff challenges everything we think we know about our past, our emotions, and how we deal with other people. So let's get right into it. Let's just start with a huge question. What if everything you've ever been told about your past, about trauma and your experiences, is actually the very thing that's holding you back? It's a pretty wild thought, right? And it's right at the heart of Adlerian psychology. So the first big idea we have to wrestle with is this belief that our past is in the driver's seat. We're constantly told that some past trauma is the cause of why we're unhappy now. Well, Adler says, nope, that's a total myth. And the difference in thinking here is just fascinating. On one side, you've got the usual view, etiology or cause and effect. Simple. Past trauma causes present unhappiness. But Adler just completely flips that. He looks at it from the perspective of purpose, what he calls teleology. He says you actually have a goal in the present, say avoiding a tough conversation, and you use your past as the perfect excuse not to do it. Okay, this is probably the most shocking thing you'll hear from this book. Now, let's be super clear. Adler isn't saying that bad things don't happen. Of course they do. What he's arguing is that no single experience, on its own, has the power to define our future. The real power is in the meaning we give to that experience, and we choose that meaning to help us achieve our goals right now.
So, in Adler's world, if someone says they can't go outside because of something that happened to them years ago, their real goal is simply to not go outside. The past just becomes this convenient, bulletproof justification. The takeaway here is pretty radical. Your past isn't controlling you. You might be using your past to control your present.
Okay, so let's build on that. If our past doesn't control us, what about our emotions? We all talk about being overwhelmed by anger or paralyzed by fear. Adler would say that's just another story we tell ourselves to avoid taking responsibility. This question really gets to the core of his whole argument. Adler believed emotions don't just happen to us. We actually manufacture them to achieve a goal, usually a goal that involves another person. They're basically tools we pull out of our toolbox when we think we need them. So here's a classic example from the book to make this super clear. Imagine a waiter spills tea on your shirt. Now, you could just say, it's fine, no big deal. But if your hidden goal is to make that person submit, to show them who's in charge, you fabricate the emotion of anger. The shouting that comes next isn't some uncontrollable outburst, it's a calculated move. You're using anger as a tool to get what you want. And the message here is so empowering when you really think about it. You are not just a victim of your feelings. You can feel that flash of anger, sure, but you can acknowledge it and then choose not to use it. You always have the power to decide how you respond. Okay, so if we can choose our responses to our past and our emotions, then where do our problems even come from? Well, this brings us to the third massive shift in thinking, and it's all about how we see other people. According to Adler, this is it. This is the whole shebang. Every single one of your worries, your anxieties, your feelings of inferiority, at its roots, it's a problem with an interpersonal relationship. Seriously, think about it. If you were the only person in the entire universe, would you have any problems? So, this really boils down to two totally different ways of looking at the world. Most of us, he says, get stuck in a competition mindset. Life is a race, and everyone else is an enemy trying to beat you. And that just leads to constant stress and jealousy. But Adler suggests a community mindset instead. See other people not as rivals, but as comrades, as fellow travelers walking on the same flat earth as you. And all of this leads us right to the solution, the main idea of the book. If all our problems come from our relationships, and we aren't helpless victims of our past or our feelings, then real freedom has to come from how we manage those relationships. The key to unlocking this freedom is a super simple but powerful tool called the separation of tasks. It's all about drawing a line in the sand by asking one simple question. Whose task is this? You are responsible for your choices, your actions, your words. But you are not responsible for how other people react to them. That's their task, not yours. And this is the most liberating idea of them all. You can be kind, you can be honest, you can do your best, but you can't control what someone else thinks of you. And trying to, that's just a recipe for making yourself miserable. When you truly deeply accept that their opinion is their business, you become free. So if you're not getting your value from other people's approval, where does it come from?
Adler says it comes from a sense of contribution. When you see others as your comrades and you just try to contribute to the community in your own way, you'll feel your own worth. It's not about what you achieve or what you accomplish. Your value is just there, in the fact that you exist, in your being.
And that leaves us with this final, powerful question to think about. If you really stopped worrying about getting everyone's approval, if you weren't afraid of being misunderstood or even disliked for living your own life, what would you do differently? What would you finally have the courage to do? Because that, right there, is the path to personal freedom.